As you get answers, you're welcome to volunteer them, and I'll write them over here off to the side. The same drill as always. If your answer's already up there, you don't need to volunteer. If your answer is different, then go ahead. Zane, what'd you get, bud? Okay, so we have 29ths as one of our solutions. I'll give you a reasonable amount of time, and then I'll press on. Buenos dias, señora. This is one where I would give you sort of, it doesn't really matter. I think the most popular approach that I tend to see on this problem is people just multiply right away by 2 or whatever the bottom of the fraction is. And so we're going to wind up with 22 equals. And then because the 2's cancel in the fraction and the multiplier, then we could just drop the 1 down. But dropping a positive 1 down is an exercise in pointlessness. So I'm just going to drop down the 9x and the plus 2. And then I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. And 22 minus 2 is 20. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 9. And I'm going to get exactly what Zane said. 29ths is perfect. Do you have any questions on that one? Okay. For our next one, we will do -6 equals 3/4 times the quantity of 10x plus 16. Suffice it to say, if you get everything right today, you're going to ace the quiz. That's a for sure. Same drill. If you get an answer, you're welcome just to say it out loud. You don't have to raise your hand if you don't want to. And you guys who, again, as always, get different answers, I want to hear them. Yeah, Bryce. Okay, I'm going to need you to reduce that for me, okay? All fractions must be reduced, Skylar. -12/5, okay? Which I think is the same thing Bryce said, right? Bryce, just reduced. You agree? Fractions must be reduced. Anything different than that yet? This one should go a little bit, pretty quick, but it takes a little bit longer than the first one. And the reason is that the drop down number on top of the fraction this time is a 3. So we're not just going to disrespect it and ignore it like we did the 1. So we are going to approach it the same way as we approached the first one. And we're going to go ahead and kill that fraction early, just multiply by 4. This is one time when early fraction killing is just, it's fine. It's totally the way to go. That's not always going to be the case. But in this case, when we multiply by 4 on the left, we get -24. When we multiply on the right, the 4's do kill each other, but that does leave behind a residual 3. And I don't want to skip that step. It's not what I do. So I'm going to write that down. Remember, the multiplier does not get into the parentheses. It just gets blocked at the door. From this point here, it's time to distribute. So we get -24 equals 30x plus 48. And then from here, we're going to subtract 48 from both sides and get 30x equals negative, what is that, 72? And then we're going to get x equals -72 over 30, which of course we would reduce and reduce and reduce. And you just keep chipping away at that stone and you will figure out that that is correct. Skylar and Bryce's answer and everyone else who got that, that is correct. It is negative 12 over 5. Any questions about that? All right, we'll do one more at this level, and then I've got sort of a partition drawn in my notes, and then the problems will move to like a different type. So same way I'll do it on the quiz, more than likely will be a few of these, a few of these, a few of these. So just so you know. The last one of this flavor is negative 4 equals negative 2/3 times the quantity of 6x minus 4. You're welcome to shut the door at any point if the surrounding classrooms are bothering you. That goes for any of you at any time. Okay. Okay, so we have negative 5/3. We have negative 5/4. So you have negative 5/3. Would you like me to take your answer off the board then? Negative 5/4 is gone. Okay. That's it. So you got positive 5/3. Okay. Anything else? I am going to kill the fraction. That tends to be, I mean, I think what you're just going to see me do at this level. Yeah, Bryce. Okay. I'm going to leave it up there though, because Zane had negative 5/3 also. So, but we have two answers on the board. I do know which one of them is right. Well, let's figure it out. What did you guys multiply by? Just out of curiosity. Okay. If you'd like a pro tip, which you didn't ask, but I'm going to give you one, rather than multiply by 3, check this out. If you multiply by negative 3. This is an interesting sort of thing. You can make an observation here and say, now hold on a second. If I multiply by negative 3, that's actually pretty cool, because when I multiply by here, it's like, I don't really care. I'm not worried about that. I get positive 12. But what I find to be beneficial about multiplying by negative 3 is that over here on the right-hand side, you're not just killing the fraction, but you're also killing the negative. So by multiplying by negative 3, these 3's cancel each other. The negatives also cancel each other, and you only have to drop down a 2. Like this. If does it, I'm glad to hear that. So that's something you can take with you. That's good. I can go through it again, multiplying by 3, since I have a suspicion that that's what a lot of you did. So maybe over here off to the right. Well, I'll just do it first and then I'll erase it and come back. So if we multiply by negative, just in this case, because it seems like, hey, that's nice. That makes my life easier. Then I distribute and I get 12 equals 12x minus 8. And then I add 8 to both sides and I get 12x equals 12 plus 8 is 20. And then I divide by 12 and I get x equals, well, 20 divided by 12. And as always, I need to reduce that. If you divide them both by 4, you do get this. Positive. 5/3. So let's go re-attack the problem again and see what it would have looked like if I hadn't spied the negative thing, the negative trick. So I'm going to get rid of the negative on my 3 out front, and that's going to change some things for us. Do you think it'll still work? Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's fine. So when we multiply by 3, the difference is we're left over here on the left with -12, and we're left over here on the right with the 3's dying, but we're still stuck with the negative on our 2, which is, by this point in the year, it's like, no big deal, right? We do have to distribute a negative, and that is what we like to try to avoid, I mean, if given the choice. And so we get -12 equals -12x and then +8. And then when you subtract 8 from both sides, you bring down your -12x. -12 minus 8 is -20. And you do see, you're like, oh, I wind up dividing, of course, the same numbers, only they're both negative. But when you divide a negative by a negative, you still get a positive. So it all comes out in the wash, provided we don't make any mistakes. So either method there would be sufficient. Any questions on the first little package of problems? Okay, that's my advice to you, is to kill the fractions early on those. That will not be true as we get to the later part here in about 15 minutes when we get to the last batch. But early fraction killing is going to get you far for a while. Good move, good first move. All right, so we're on to the second sort of type now. So we have -1/9 minus a fraction. The top of the fraction is 3x plus 2. The bottom of the fraction is 63. And then it's equal to x plus 3. Just like the first ones, you will obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, you will early fraction kill. These problems begin by eliminating fractions right away. You'll want to have a calculator handy, I would think, because there's going to be some large numbers with this. The nature of this problem is that you're going to have to multiply by a big number. And when you multiply by big numbers, you make big numbers. We don't want to ever miss problems because of some rinky-dink 4th grade addition and subtraction error. Any answers yet? So your answer just overall is like it's an integer, not a fraction, -198. Okay. Skylar? -3. Okay. Quite a difference between your two answers there. Quite a separation. Tiene que multiplicar por 63. Los números son muy grandes. I'm going to go ahead and get started. We do have to multiply by 63. 63 is our guy. 63, yeah. -97/33. Okay. When we first multiply by 63, I'm going to highlight a couple things in red here, and then I'm going to destroy my red. This 63 that I'm circling in red and this 9 that's on the bottom, they can hook out. Heard a kid call it around the world. There's all sorts of different names apparently for what I'm trying to get you and your brain to agree on. And that is you divide the 63 by the 9, and then you multiply the residual answer by the top. That's the way this works, is you divide, multiply, divide, multiply. So 63 divided by 9 is 7, and then 7 times -1 is -7. So the first thing that we all brought down should have been a -7. The next step is where you'll miss it. And I'm not saying that for tomorrow. I'm saying that for today. If you missed it, there's a very, 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 very high chance that it's because of what's about to happen. And you got two choices. You can follow really closely with what I'm about to show you, or you cannot. But this is it. You make me bet my mortgage, bet my house on, if you tell me a kid misses this problem and you make me bet on where did it happen, I'll bet every time on what's about to happen right here. In the second step, when this 63 that I'm circling in red divides by this 63 that I'm circling in red, they just kill each other out. But what we have to be aware of is that there's a minus sign, and I'm going to point to it with an arrow. That minus sign, if you miss it, will be the reason you miss this problem, because that minus sign drops down and applies himself to what was left on the top of the fraction, like this. Note the red parentheses. That minus sign has to be respected. If he were a plus sign, then I would just drop down the 3x plus 2. But because there's a minus in front, he says, I own the whole top of that fraction. You killed the 63. You did not kill me. And that's where it's going to happen. The rest of it is just some annoying mathematics. If you multiply the 63 all the way across to the right-hand side, you get 63 times x. And then if you multiply the 63 all the way across to the 3, you get 189. Okay? Okay. Take it or leave it. Take it from years and years and years and years and thousands of iterations of watching that mistake happen. Those red things that I have are really important. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to acknowledge the minus sign by distributing him through the parentheses. And my next line will say -7 minus 3x, and here it goes, minus 2 equals 63x plus 189. Now, because I feel like it, I'm going to go ahead and do some simple math on the left-hand side. We reach a point where some people survive and become good equation solvers without doing this. My take is I'm going to simplify first. So my -7 and -2 on the left are going to combine to make -9. And from this point, it is just a very typical 100% normal three-step equation. You got to get this far. I'm going to add the 3x across to the right-hand side, which is going to give me 66x's. And then while I'm at it, I'm going to subtract the 189 across to the left-hand side. If I'm already down 9 and I go down 189 more, I'm down 190 And then I'm going to divide both sides by 66. And I'm going to have something that is very uncomfortable. But with the use of my calculator, I realize some of you wouldn't use a calculator. If you're real strong with your times tables and your mental math sense, you don't need it. But you do see that 66 goes into 198 exactly 3 times. And so the answer overall is x equals -3. Divides out real nice at the end. Good job, Skylar. Good job, anyone else that got that right, by the way. I know there's a lot of you that are getting right answers, and I don't hear from you because if the right answer already appears, then you probably just keep it to yourself. So if you got that, kudos. Next one is 3 minus 9/7 equals a fraction. The top of the fraction is 2x minus 2. The bottom of the fraction is 21. And that is it. Okay, we have an answer. It has begun, -11. Skylar? 19. Okay. I'll just caution you, if you don't know even how to start, tomorrow's going to be a really rough day on your grade. Okay, you got to just right out of the gate know, not think, know that the first step is to multiply by 21. That just can't be a discussion that we have to have. I'm going to go ahead and take Zane's off the board, unless anyone else had -11. Okay. Okay. So the first step just has to be a multiplying through by 21. The 21 is going to multiply to 3 different places. When it multiplies to the 3, we get 60 plus 3 is 63. When the 21 multiplies to the second one, I will show you this again. This will be my last day where I get to keep showing this to you on the TV. This 21 and this 7, I'm circling them in red, are a division problem. And it will work because we chose the number that we're multiplying by. If it doesn't work, then you chose a poopy number. I hope that makes sense. 21 divided by 7 is 3, and then you multiply 3 by what was still left. So there was already a -9, and you multiply it by the leftover 3, and that's -27. And then on the right-hand side, we love it when this happens. This is just a gorgeous, clean kill. The 21s are gone. There's no negatives to worry about. So I can just relax and drop down the top. Piece of cake. The next step here ought to be to combine your like terms on the left. Anything else would be a little bit odd, I think. So on the left, 63 minus 27 is 36. And then I'm going to add 2 to both sides and get 2x equals 38. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 2. And I'm going to get 38 divided by 2, which anything that's even can always be divided by 2. So we know this is coming out nice. So the answer is definitely 19. As always, good job if you got that. If you didn't, hopefully our time is being spent well today and you spotted your boo-boo. That's what today's for. Today we're playing clean up, find any little mistakes and work them out today. Get them out of your system. Okay, next one. I have a fraction minus a fraction equals a fraction. So for the first fraction, we have 2x plus 5 over 6 minus the next fraction is x plus 3 over 8. And then it's equal to the final fraction, which is x minus 1 over 24. This minus sign, I'm going to point to it with a red arrow, should have you perked up, shaking in your boots a little bit, saying, watch out. That's a big, 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 big deal. Just a friendly reminder, since you have 23 and a half hours, there will be no phones anywhere near your desktop tomorrow. So make sure that you have an actual calculator, not one on your phone. Be prepared for that. If you're using it like on homework time, it's just not really my concern. But if that's what you're used to, just be warned. Make sure you have like a Casio or a TI 30 or something like that. Okay. The answer flow has begun. We have an answer, -6/5. -3 is the next one. Skylar. -5/2. Okay. Give you just a few more seconds. Let any more answers trickle in. Anything that's not yet on the board written in blue off to the right? All right, let's begin. The least common denominator of 6, 8, and 24 is resoundingly, definitively 24. So you really want to embrace that idea of divide, multiply. If you're not good at that yet, come see me today. We got to get you good. For the first multiplication, the 24 that's out front and the 6 that's on the bottom will divide to leave a 4. And I'm going to take that 4 and multiply it by what's on the top. But I'm not actually going to. I'm going to leave it as a multiplication problem. And then the second division problem is the 24 divided by the 8, which does leave a 3, but in this case, it's a -3. And I will say again that that's generally where a boo-boo would occur, right there. And then the last multiplication is all the way across the equal sign, and that's my favorite kind. That's the clean kill. The 24 is just poof away, and I'm just left with a nice clean x minus 1. If you got this far, then your issue isn't anything to do with fractions. Your issue is something from September, like I don't know, trouble with distribution of a negative or combining terms or something. So here we go. When I distribute the first batch right here, I get 8x plus 20. When I distribute the second batch, I get -3x minus 9. And then I'm going to combine the living daylights out of those like terms on the left-hand side. On the left-hand side, I have an 8x and a -3x for a total of 5x. And then I have a positive 20 and a -9, and 20 minus 9 is still positive, but only 11. And then from here, I tried to advertise this to you a month ago when we learned this, that this is just what it always comes to. The equations always find their way to this point. You got x's and numbers equal x's and numbers, and it ought to just be cruise control for you mentally. I'm going to move the x's to the left, making 4 of them. I'm going to move the 11 to the right, making negative 12, and I'm going to divide by 4 and get negative 12 divided by 4, which is definitely negative 3. Okay, so we're about 2/3 of the way home. I do have one more example from this set. Let's try to make this one really quick, okay? So for this, we have a fraction minus a fraction equals an integer. So my first fraction is 4x minus 7, and it's over 10. Minus my second fraction is x plus 2 over 6. And this could just equal an integer. Remember, integers are things that are not, they don't have fractions. You're not allowed to call them whole numbers because whole numbers technically can't be negative. So we just call them integers. Levi, is that you getting blown up over there? Will you take that off your desk so we don't have to listen to it? Thanks, bud. Someone's sending you some dank Insta memes, LOL, and some Snap gifs. Your answer this time will be a fraction. Okay, the last 3 have not been. This one will be. Okay. See? 1/7. Okay. Go ahead and get started. I went ahead and put on the board what the multiplier is. Our fraction killer this time is definitely 30. 30 is the smallest common multiple of 10 and 6. Some of you might have used 60. It's going to work. You're just going to have bigger numbers and more annoying reducing to do at the end. So I'm going to stick with my 30. When I multiply by 30, the 30 and the 10 divide to leave a 3. I'll take that 3 and I'll multiply it eventually by what was on the top. And if you haven't figured this out yet, I purposely had this be a recurring theme in my examples for the day. There's another minus sign in front of a fraction. We want 100% of students to understand how important that is. That when I divide the 30 by the 6, I don't leave a 5. I leave a negative 5. And that has to multiply by the x plus 2. And then the 30 multiplies all the way across to the east, and 30 times negative 1 is negative 30. Got to get there. And now I'm going to distribute. In my next line, I'm going to have 12x minus 21 minus 5x minus 10. And then in my next line, I'm going to combine like terms. 12x's minus 5x's makes 7. There's that 7 we saw in both of the answers on the board. That's good. The minus 21 and the minus 10 make a net total of minus 31. And then from here, it's a two-step equation. I'm going to add 31 to both sides, which is going to give me 7x equals 1. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 7, which is definitely 1/7. Say again, Kyla. All right, on to the back side of my note card. I have 6 of these. There's no way that I'm going to have time to get to 6. So I'm going to try to pick and choose at least a few of them that that will help us out. I'm going to start with, I think, the easiest one of the bunch. And you'll see why, I hope, as you start working the problem. I let the computer honestly write a lot of these for me yesterday. This one I did not leave to chance. I took control of this one and I wrote it. Does anyone see what makes this a very friendly problem? Levi? Well, that's generally what makes them actually very unfriendly problems, but why in this case is this one very user-friendly? Zane? Nope, it's because 6 and 12 can be divided by 3, and it's because 12 and 4 can be divided by 4. So bear in mind as you go through now and you distribute your fractions through, because like I'm going to do it that way. I'm not going to do early fraction killing. I'm going to distribute. If you're looking for something to put in your notes, when you get to these problems, you'll know when you get there, early fraction killing may not be the right approach. Mm-hmm. We're just distributing. That's all we're doing. So like you're going to take negative 2/3 and you're going to distribute it here and here. We're just doing what we do. We're doing math on both sides. And then we're going to take the 3/4 and distribute it here and here. And both of those distributions, the red and the yellow, should come out nice because the whole number targets are divisible by the bottom of the multiplier. We like that. I do not early fraction kill. I've said that 3 times now. On these, I will not. Decided it's not what I like to do. Half the time it's a good idea, half the time it's a bad idea. So I feel like in light of that, let's just not do it. Your answer will be a fraction. You want to take a shot? 4/5, okay. You see why we save these for last. They're invariably going to be more difficult for us. Would you like me to get that off the board? Okay, Skylar? You said 23 over 13? Yeah, Zane? Okay. B. Hansen? Interesting. Interestingly close. You and Skylar were on the same wavelength. One of you just added something a little bit differently than the other, perhaps. I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'll do my very best teacher performance here. In case you're wondering, how did you do this? I'm going to take this number that I'm circling in red. I use colors for your educational convenience. That red number is going to distribute through the parentheses. And as it does, good things are going to happen. They will not in the next problem, but in this one they do. And I say good things because the target numbers are whole numbers, which can be divided by the bottom of the multiplier. Just happens. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 2 times -2 is -4. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy down this 12 because he's like, I got nothing to do with this step. And then the very first answer that I get is -4x. Before I forget and do anything stupid, I'm going to go ahead and put down plus because I know I'm about to distribute a negative onto a negative. And I'm going to follow those same steps again. My second red arrow multiplication, I look at it and I go, hot dog, baby. 12 divided by 3 is 4. Boom, 4 times 2 is 8. So I have +8. On the right-hand side, same drill. This time it's going to be Mr. Yellow. And Mr. Yellow says, I'm going to go ahead and multiply here. And then I'm going to multiply here. And both times you'll see good things happening. So again, 12 divided by 4 is 3 times 3 is 9. And the next one, 4 divided by 4 is 1 times 3 is 1, except I'm going to copy down the minus. Oops, that should be a 3. My apologies. This problem exists only for its beginning, because now it's old stuff. On the left, I do have like terms. I'm going to combine them while I can. The like terms specifically are this 12 and this +8. So they make a +20. So I'm going to rewrite the left side as -4x plus 20. And on the right side, I have 9x minus 3. And then from here, because it is now October 3rd, we're getting quicker. We can start doing more math quickly. I get it. It's okay. And I do this with my fingers, not because I'm having some kind of a medical episode, but because I can picture the X's and the numbers just like whoop, switch places. So I'm going to add 4x to both sides, which is going to give me 13x. And then I'm going to add 3 to both sides, which is going to give me 23. That perfectly separates the variables from the numbers. And then when I divide by 13, I get this answer right here. Good job on the 23/13. That is correct. Now I'm going to give you a very similar problem to that where the results are not as nice. And so I'm going to give you how we approach it at the beginning ought to be the same, but it's not going to feel as warm and fuzzy to you. So this one's going to be 1/2 times -8x plus 7 equals -x minus 4/3 times -9x plus 3. The distribution is good, but also at one point not good. Like it doesn't, there's one of the 4 multiplication problems that isn't going to come out nice. Sebastian? 2. Okay. Zane? 6/7. Okay. I am going to begin soon because the clock tells me that I have to. So I don't want to be smack in the middle of this when the bell rings because then all hope is lost. So when I do the red distribution on the left, this has to go quick. 1/2 times -8x is definitely -4x. And this is the part I alluded to earlier. You're not going to like this part, but you have to be good at this, that this is a fraction that when you multiply it by a whole number, the division trick doesn't work because 7, the whole number, can't divide by the multiplier's bottom. So when you can't divide, then you just go, oh, that's okay. You just put the 7 over 1 and multiply across, and you wind up with 7/2. And then you copy down the -x because he has to wait. And then the right side, they actually both come out nice. The first multiplication, the 9 and the 3 divide to leave a 3, and 3 times 4 is 12. And I'm going to put plus 12x because it's a negative hitting a negative. The second yellow multiplication, there's a clean kill with the 3 and the 3, leaving me with a -4. At this point, you could combine some like terms if you wanted to, so that's up to you. I would look over on the right-hand side and say, there's a couple easy peasy terms, namely these two. I'll point to them with red arrows. -x plus 12x makes 11x. And so I might as well put those together. What the heck? And at this point, good move for most of us is to kill the fraction, and that is just multiplied by 2. Now that we got everything out in the open, we're going to wind up with -8x plus 7 equals 22x minus 8. When you multiply, you can't just focus on the fraction that you want to kill. Everyone gets the same treatment. Multiply, everyone gets it. And then from here, I think it's a pretty standard equation. I'm just going to bring my x's over to the right by adding 8x to give me 30 of those. And then I'm going to add my 8 across to the left, and 7 plus 8 is 15. And if you got this far and did not get 1/2, then you need to show more work. Because from here, the answer is not 2, the answer is x equals 1/2. And where that comes from is an understanding that I'm dividing both sides by 30, and 15 cannot divide by 30 to make 2. It's top smaller than the bottom. It has to be a fraction, 1/2. So kudos if you got 1/2. If you would like more review problems, you're welcome to pop in today. I can pull you for flex. If you suffered through that and feel like I am toast, I can pull you also for flex. There's all sorts of reasons to want to come into flex 20 hours before a quiz, but you have to let me know. Yeah, I know when I said that, I was kind of talking. I figured that that's what you had done. So, yeah. Good.